I'd like to call the meeting to order. Moved by Councillor Rolla, seconded by Councillor Moffat. Resolved that the regular meeting commence at the hour of 7 o'clock. All in favor? And be it further resolved that Council acknowledge that we are meeting in the Robinson Superior Treaty area on lands that have been traditionally used by several Indigenous nations. But we would like to pay special recognition to our closest Indigenous neighbors, the communities of Big Tagon, Nishnabeg, and Pic-Mobert First Nations. We wish to recognize the long history of the First Nations and Métis people in our region specifically and show respect to them today. All in favor? Are there any additions or deletions to the agenda? Seeing none. Is there any declaration of pecuniary interest or general nature thereof? Seeing none, we will move to the approval of the agenda. Moved by Councillor Moffat, seconded by Councillor Rolla. Resolved that the agenda be approved as circulated. All in favor? Moved by Councillor Rolla, seconded by Councillor Scampanello. Resolved that the Council be provided a presentation by Grant Thornton auditors of the draft 2018 consolidated financial statement for the Township. And be it further resolved that upon conclusion of the Council's review, Council... I'll wait that part.
So Frank, we're good to go if you can hear us?
Yes, we can.
There you go.
Well, thank you very much, members of council, for taking the time to allow us to come and go through our audit results as well as the financial statements, your financial statements. Just so everybody knows, we can't see you. I think you can see us, so it's going to be hard for us to read body language. So if you do have any questions, don't be afraid to shout out because we can't see. If you're making a motion to ask a question, we won't be able to see it. I do believe that you have two copies or two documents in front of you. One titled the Consolidated Financial Statements, the Corporation of the Township of Manitowoc, and the other one is basically it's the report to the members of council on the audit strategy and results. I'm going to take you through the audit strategy and results document first. So the purpose of this report really is twofold. One is obviously to cover off our requirements under our standards to report back to you on our audit results, but also it does give council the ability to cover off their due diligence on the whole financial reporting and audit results and audit process. So part of your role is to oversee this process, and this meeting really gives you the ability to tick the box to say that you've done that. The audit itself is complete. We completed the audit a number of weeks ago. In order to sign off on the financial statements, so to sign our audit report, a few things still need to happen. Obviously, the management representation letter, so it's a letter that we ask management to sign the day the financial statements get approved. We're still waiting on some legal responses, but we don't expect there to be anything surprising coming out of those. The approval of the financial statements by the members of council. So again, at the end of the meeting, hopefully council will approve the financial statements, which will allow us to issue our audit opinion. And then procedures regarding subsequent events. As I said, we completed the bulk of the audit engagement a number of weeks ago. We just want to make sure nothing's happened that will impact the financial statements. So if we turn to page 2 and talk about some of the significant transactions and the audit risk and results. So obviously, on an annual basis, we look at activities of the municipality compared to last year, compared to budget, and then look for things that are different where we want to focus some of our effort. One of the areas, obviously, is your capital expenditures. So you spent just over $1.2 million of capital projects last year. Number of equipment purchases, motor vehicles, some infrastructure improvements. So we do spend a fair bit of time looking at that. Your federal gas tax funding, obviously you get an amount of money on allotment every year, but we do look at not only what you receive, but also concern really is around, the misappropriation of tax dollars, someone going in and applying payments to someone else's account, or moving the impact assessment to other people's values, if that's possible. So we do take a look at that, make sure that numbers haven't been moved around and cash receipts are actually posted to the proper accounts. But then there's grant revenue, and why this is on here is, there is the ability for management, if they want to, move money around or expenses around to earn money that they really haven't earned. So we use a heightened awareness from an audit perspective to make sure that there isn't any financial reporting fraud happening. And we'll talk about that a little bit later as well. So management override, you'll see in our internal control letter that you do have an issue with segregation of duties. Your finance team isn't very big, which is common for municipalities of your size. So this isn't uncommon. And you'll see in the internal control letter, we talk about what management has the ability to do and what some of the compensating controls are. And I'll walk you through that right into the letter. With regards to fraud and illegal acts, council is always wants to know whether any fraud was identified or took place. During the course of our audit, we didn't identify any fraud. But again, keep in mind that there's two types of fraud, right? There's a traditional fraud that you read in the paper about where someone steals money or steals something from an organization. So that's the first kind of fraud that we always hear about. But there's also financial reporting fraud where management knowingly misstates financial information to benefit the municipality. And again, we need to be aware of that and make sure that things aren't moved around at year end just to benefit the municipality, or likewise to hurt the municipality in any way, shape, or form. So we do spend a lot of time looking at that as well. Page 4, accounting estimates. I'm not going to spend a lot of time here, but really there's two estimates: your allowance for doubtful accounts and your landfill liability. From an audit perspective, these are estimates, so we don't have an invoice to go to. What we do is we audit the assumptions that go into making those calculations or determining those numbers, and we have spent a lot of time looking at it and feel comfortable with what's reported in the financial statements. The other areas of focus, we didn't identify any legal issues that aren't identified or reported in the financial statements. We received excellent cooperation from Margaret and the whole team over in Manitowoc this year. And to the best of our knowledge, management didn't have to do or want to do any opinion shopping by consulting other auditors with regards to any differences of opinion. On page 5, just some adjustments. When we come in and do or perform an audit, in most cases we identify differences or issues that need to be adjusted, and you're no different. At the end of the year, we do make some adjustments to your financial statements. And a lot of the adjustments we make are those once a year type adjustments that we record in your financial statements, like depreciation, the landfill liability, those types of things only get done once a year and recorded in the financial statements. On to page 6, the other reportable matters. Again, with regards to internal controls, the segregation of duties and the controls around journal entries. We'll talk about that when we get to the letter. The additional services that we provide, we do prepare your FIR, we do the library's financial statements and the trust fund financial statements as well. And I do want to confirm that we are independent of your organization, which is a requirement under our standards as well. On page 7, we talk about our technical updates and highlights. We're going to work with management to make sure that any of these changes that happen in the standards get properly reflected in your financial statements. We jump to the appendices. I'll take you quickly through the appendices. So on page 8, the overview and the approach. Just quickly, the roles and responsibilities. So as council, you set the tone for the organization. You also oversee the whole financial reporting and audit process. Management's role, you'll see it in our audit report as well, and management really is responsible for preparing these financial statements, but also for making sure that the internal control structure that feeds into the financial statements are also working effectively. So our role as your auditor is to perform an audit in accordance with Canadian generally accepted auditing standards, making sure that you comply with your accounting policies and procedures, and to be independent of the municipality as well. On the next page, the audit approach. I'm going to bore you with a bunch of audit jargon, but really it starts with knowing your organization, knowing the industry that you operate in, and then determining where the risk of material misstatement can happen. Where does that risk lie? And then tailoring our audit procedures, making sure we cover off that risk, and finally reporting back. So I often use the analogy that our audit approach really is designed around fishing where the fish are, and making sure that we focus our efforts where we should be focusing our efforts. Page 10, materiality. You'll hear me make reference to materiality in the audit report. And what is materiality? Well, it's a number. It's a number that we use for three things. It's the first step in identifying where we're going to focus our attention or focus our efforts. It's also, it impacts our staff and how much testing are we going to do over significant transactions and balances. And then finally, we use materiality to assess the overall financial statements. At the end of our audit, we compile all the differences we identified and make sure that the financial statements are free of material misstatements. So all those differences, if they are material, we go back to management and say they have to make some adjustments. We talked about fraud, risk factors, and considerations. So I'm not going to beat that to death. I think it's pretty evident that we haven't identified any fraud. And keep in mind that fraud, this concept of materiality doesn't apply to fraud. So if we find an error of, say, $10,000, we may not make that adjustment in the financial statements if it's just an error in the financial statements. If it's fraud of $100, we are required to report that back to the audit committee or to the council. So on page 11, quality control starts with our people. Quality always starts with our people, making sure they're properly trained and supervised. We do have two sets of eyes that look at all the working papers and any audit evidence that we've identified. There are two sets of eyes that look at it. And in many cases, there's three. Lindsay will overview or review some of our other team members' work. And then I'll look at it as well before I sign off on the financial statements. But then we also are subject to inspection. CPA Canada does come in and do inspections on a regular basis, as well as our Grant Thornton Canada quality assurance team comes in and takes a look at things as well. So Appendix B is the auditor's report. I'll take you through the audit report here. Obviously, it will be attached to the financial statements as well. The audit report is addressed to the members of council, inhabitants, and ratepayers of the corporation or the township of Manitoba. That's who we work for. We have a great relationship, or at least I think we have a great relationship with Margaret and the whole team there. But at the end of the day, we work for you as members of council. I want to make that very clear that that's who we work for. The opinion, this audit report is different than what you've seen in the past. Our standards have changed. But in essence, it does say the same thing. At the end of the day, it is a clean audit opinion. So what we've done is we've audited the financial statements that are attached to the audit report. And in our opinion, the financial statements present fairly on material respects the financial position of the township as at December 31st, 2018. The results of its operations, changes in net financial assets and cash flows for the year ended in accordance with Canadian public sector accounting standards. And those are the standards that you're required to abide by. The basis for our opinion, again, we follow Canadian generally accepted auditing standards. And we believe that the audit evidence we've obtained is sufficient and appropriate to provide a basis for our audit opinion. Management is responsible for these financial statements, and I want to make that very clear. These are your numbers, they're not ours. And the internal controls that feed into these financial statements are also management's responsibility. Now, those charged with governance, which is council, are responsible for overseeing the township's financial reporting process. So again, our whole audit approach is to gain reasonable assurance that the financial statements are free of material misstatement. And keep in mind that reasonable assurance isn't absolute assurance. So, if we were to come in and try to obtain absolute assurance, we would have to look at every transaction, which wouldn't be cost effective and we'd be there all year to never actually sign off on it. So again, we do feel that we've obtained enough assurance to be able to issue an audit report on the financial statements. So outside of just generally accepted auditing standards, we do exercise professional skepticism, and we also exercise a lot of professional judgment when we come in and perform the audit. And that's why it's important to understand who you are as a township compensating control is that, council is involved in the budget process. Council also gets financial information. So, if you get financial information from management, don't be afraid to ask questions. If something doesn't look right, in many cases it might not be right, especially if there isn't an explanation around it. So we encourage council to continue to do their job by asking questions and making sure they feel comfortable with the numbers that they're being presented with. On page, the numbers could get smaller. On page 19, just some documentation around cybersecurity. So those of you that read the paper on a regular basis are well aware that cybersecurity is becoming a bigger and bigger issue where, hackers from around the world will hack into an accounting system. It doesn't have to be an accounting system. It could be any system that the municipality relies on. And in essence, will hold you hostage. They can lock down your system. And usually they require some kind of payment. And that payment is in the form of Bitcoin, which is not traceable. So we've seen it around the world. We've seen it in Ontario where organizations have been held hostage by these hackers. In our presentations, or in my presentations to a number of other municipalities, there's some restricted numbers. We encourage you to talk to the other municipalities in the region and look at doing something together in this fashion to cover off this risk. It's very hard. It might not be cost effective for one municipality to do it, but any organization that has access to the internet is subject to hacking, and cybersecurity is an issue, and it's something that you should be aware of. So page 20, appendix F, and really the rest of the document is a lot of the accounting and auditing changes or possible changes that are coming down the pipe. I'm not going to walk you through it. I think we've been working with management long enough that if there are any changes that happen in both accounting or auditing standards, that we'll work with them to make sure that they are reflected in your financial statements. Are there any questions on that document before we jump into the numbers, which is, I think, why we're all here?
No, doesn't appear to be, thank you.
Okay. So the other document you have is the consolidated financial statements of the township. So if you flip over the covering page, there is a thing called the Statement of Administrative Responsibility. And we asked the mayor and we asked the CAO clerk treasurer to sign off on this. Basically, it's their way of saying that they take responsibility for the financial statements themselves, that the auditor, the grantor, has been engaged to perform an audit on the financial statements, but again, the numbers are yours. And then when you flip to page 1 and 2 is a copy of the independent auditor's report that we've walked through already. So once the financial statements are approved by council, we will finalize that and sign it, and then give you final financial statements. So I'm going to turn it over to Lindsay, who will walk you through the numbers. And if you have any questions, give us a cough or a holler, and we'll stop and answer them.
So you have taxation of 3.7 versus 3.7, so there's minor changes there, so just for the sub. Your user charges are up compared to your budget there. So your water is up, mostly in the meter category. Your airport fees are up also compared to the budget. And you have a small amount received from the Nuclear Waste Management Organization to fund your youth officer there. And your government transfers, your Government Canada, so that line there is your gas tax. You see that you that's the 336,000. Your Province of Ontario, 3.2 million versus the 2 million actual there. So that included in that line is your OMPF funding and other grants. One of the big projects was for your Wells 3 and 4 project that wasn't completed or just finally started in the current year. Under your other revenue, these items here are traditionally more difficult to budget for. You'll see some variances there. Your investment income is up compared to your budget, and that's due to your fair market value adjustment. And again, you'll see more details in the reserve side notes there. Included in your other income line there in the actual is about 300,000 from the Nuclear Waste Management Organization, the money that you use for the broadband. So you have total other revenue of the 483 versus the 986. Then you have your total revenue, like I said, the 8.6 versus 8.6. So on page number 5, inspection, total expense budget of 7.3 versus 7.6. I'll just highlight again a few variances. So under general government, you have the 1.6 versus the 2.1 actual. So included in there is the 600,000 expense for the investment in the broadband, where you see that in that line. Under transportation, the 1.7 versus the 1.4 actual. So your salaries were up and down to some vacancies and also some projects that were completed during the year. Under environmental services, the 1.5 budget versus the 1.7. So included in the actual is the 155,000 for the change in the landfill liability there. And also under planning and development, 79 versus the 90. So included in there is your ED salaries were up, which were paid by the grant that we talked about in the revenue line there too. So your net revenue before the unnoted items of the 721 in the current year. So that's your annual surplus there. Again, that's your PSUP surplus, not your actual in-year surplus. Your actual in-year surplus is about 423,000. That we'll talk about Schedule 1 right now, and that was transferred into the reserve and reserve fund by standing motion.
So as you walk through the expenditures and expenses, it seems like we went through it fairly quickly. We highlight the significant differences. There's differences, there's small differences on a lot of the accounts, but we compare that to the budget. The council sort of planned on spending money in a certain area, the money was spent in that area. We usually don't come back and highlight that as part of our presentation. We highlight the things that are different or changed throughout the year that council and management didn't plan for in the budgeting process. So that's why we highlighted some of those differences in our specific line items.
So we like to flip to page 20, so that's your Schedule 1. So that's the breakdown of your accumulated surplus or your allocation of your equity there. So again, we had a 424,000 current year surplus that was transferred into your reserve fund by expanding bylaw. So at the top of the page there, you have your investment in your tangible capital assets, so the 19 million. Then you have some unfunded items, so that's your long-term debt and your landfill liability. So these items are items to be funded in the future.
Yeah, so you're going to levy the ratepayer when you actually plan on repaying a capital land. Those are the years in which you'll actually levy the ratepayer.
You have total surplus there of the 18 million. The next page, number 7, is the statement of cash flow. So that was showing the sources and uses of cash from our balance sheet cash at year-end. Next, starting on page number 8, is your Newton County policy. I won't go through them in detail because there's been no changes from the prior year. So they end on page 13, and the notes start there. Trust fund balance of $68,000. Number 3 is taxes receivable. So this just gives you a breakdown of the balance that you would have seen on the statement of financial position there.
So, sorry, if we can just look at note 2 again. So your trust funds, really, this is the most significant trust fund you have. Right? The only one is the Cemetery Perpetual Care Fund. So you administer that money, but that money doesn't belong to you. It actually is set aside and it belongs to the cemetery in order to pay for maintenance of the cemetery in the future. So that's why it's included in the notes saying you manage that money, but it's not yours and it's not included in the financial statements. Sorry, Nancy.
No. Note number 3, you'll see the balance has remained consistent and it's really the allowance that has increased in the current year. Mainly due to the properties that you've got in the year.
So every year management goes through an exercise of looking at all the taxes that are going to you, and then they make an assessment as to whether or not they believe that they're going to collect those taxes receivable. If they're going to put properties into tax registration or put properties up for tax sale, they'll make the assessment as to whether or not those taxes are going to be collectible. That doesn't mean they're not going to try to collect them. At the end of the day, management continues to use the municipal act to the best of their ability to continue to try to collect those receivables. So even though the number looks big, it doesn't mean that management isn't trying to collect those receivables.
Note number 4 is your cash receivable. So again, there's just a breakdown there. Including your receivables, again, you have grants, your agency, and then just some general fees included in there. And then your water receivable balances and then the allowance of for taxes credit. Note number 5 is your proposed temporary loans to have available line of credit available and yellow for at your end. Note number 6 on page 14 is your deferred revenue balances listed there. About 1.1 million. And again, I mentioned that significant balance in there is required for the plant renovation. So this is there 25,000. And then below is just the continuity, so beginning balances and what was earned reserve the balance at your end.
So again, for those new members of council, Lindsay touched on it earlier, deferred revenue by definition is money you receive, so it's sitting in your bank account, but you haven't earned it yet. You haven't spent it in order to earn it. So that's why we set it up as deferred. It's sitting there, and we'll get budgeted to spend it next year or whenever the time comes to spend it.
Note number 7, interest disclosures at the bottom there is tied to the 124,000 during the prior. Number 8, financial closure and foreclosure costs. I won't go through it, but I'll just touch on a couple of things. So the remaining
I don't see any.
There's a lot of information to digest, and it's, if there are any questions that come up later on, maybe follow them through Margaret, and we can do our best to give you a response.
Thank you very much for your presentation.
Well, thank you.
Resolved that council has been provided a presentation by Grant Thornton, auditors of the draft 2018 consolidated financial statement for the township, and be it further resolved that upon conclusion of council's review, council does hereby approve the draft version as presented. All in favor? Thank you.
Thanks, Frank. We're going to close out now.
All right, thank you very much. And enjoy the rest of your meeting.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Moffat, seconded by Councillor Roller. Resolved that the minutes of the regular meeting held on June 26, 2019 are approved as circulated. All in favor? There are no petitions. Therefore, we'll move to correspondence. Is there any of the items that we would like to bring down?
Through the chair, yes, I'd like to bring down item 0802, the letter from Lakeview Terrace.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Scapanello, seconded by Councillor Rolla. Resolved that correspondence items 08-01 to 08-02 be received and filed, and be it further resolved that agenda item 0802 be returned to council under business for the meeting of July 10, 2019. All in favor? Moved by Councillor Moffat, seconded by Councillor Hudson. Resolved that the minutes of the meeting of the Thunder Bay District Board of Health held May 15, 2019 be accepted as received. All in favor? Moved by Councillor Arola, seconded by Councillor Moffat. Resolved that the minutes of the meeting of the Thunder Bay District Social Service Administration Board held May 16, 2019 regular and May 16, 2019 closed be accepted as received. All in favor? The next item is a verbal update by the mayor. 2 weeks ago, I was fortunate enough to go to a meeting in Kingston that was put on by ALPA, which is the Association of the Local Public Health Units. And the reason they had the meeting, one of the reasons they had the meeting, was a big concern about the number of health units that were going to be consolidated. We were going from 35 to 10, and we really weren't told which 10 or where it was going to be or how it was going to be. So they started the chief medical officer for the province of Ontario started the conversation by saying that there would be a reduction in their total funding of $210 million, but they were not going to experience any loss themselves. It looks to everybody like this $210 million is going to be uploaded to all the municipalities. So that is one of the big concerns that AMO has and NOMA has, and they'll be bringing that to Mr. Ford and his provincial government. It looks now, we're not absolutely positive, but it looks very good that we will be having a consolidation of the Kenora Northern Ontario Health Unit and the Thunder Bay Health Unit into one. And there will be some costs involved for the Thunder Bay Hook Canoe because the other one is a more expensive one, and costs never go down, they'll go up. So we can expect a little bit of an increase, but nothing will happen until 2020. And I'll let you know if there's anything else that I can get from that. Oh, yes, I'm sorry, I got to that too. I want to congratulate the staff and of the township and the service department and the volunteer fire department for an excellent job that they did on the Canada Day celebrations. I've heard nothing but very, very good reports on it, so congratulations to everybody.
Thank you, and I'll pass that on.
Okay, the next is a verbal update by CEO or Treasurer.
Through the chair, I have several updates for you tonight. We have posted the position. Council had been asking for the Ski Hill Golf Course worker, so that is currently posted, and we will hopefully close this next week, I believe. So hopefully we'll have some potential candidates and interviews for that and get started up the Ski Hill early this year. The skate park tenders have been awarded. We've been reviewing the drawings and talking to the individual who was awarded the contract, and they've suggested some changes that we're looking at, and we're getting an engineer to look at them, just the way they see it flowing. And so with an engineer's approval on that, we may be changing where some grassy areas were and how the cement is actually going to lie to the skate park, and it looks like it may reduce the cost slightly. So that's still a work in progress. We're hoping that the work is going to start no later than the middle of August. Hopefully sooner, if we can get all these drawings approved and stamped, but should be no later than the middle of August. But it's scheduled to be complete by the end of the season at the latest. We have put all our delegations in for AMO. We had asked for a meeting with the Minister of Education to talk about, the cuts that the Ford government has put forward and how that's going to impact our schools. We've also reached out to the various school boards and have asked for a meeting with them so that we can hear firsthand from them what their concerns are regarding their specific school boards. And we've heard back from 2 of them, so we'll continue to reach out to the other 2. We've asked for a meeting with Minister Rickford regarding the broadband project, and we've also worked with Northern Broadband to have them create some documents for us that we can take and present to the Minister. For both of those delegations, I've been reached out to from the Minister's offices, so it looks positive for those 2 meetings. The third one we asked for was the Ministry of Transportation, and I've heard nothing back from them. No follow-up, no further questions, so that one is still it's generally pretty close to the date, has been my experience, before we actually hear whether we're getting those delegations or not, so we'll see. And the last one I have is an update on the pool. Work continues over there. Just give me 2 seconds while I open this up. So the pipe leak is almost complete. They have to order some parts. So they're going to work one more day tomorrow, and then because they don't have the parts, they're going to head home and be back here Monday morning ready to start work again. The heat exchanger piping is being installed, and a urinal drain was repaired. They anticipate water testing next week, but the heat won't be completed until hopefully the end of the week. It's going to be more labor costs than anticipated, although we were estimating it in the first place. And the pool pump is not operating correctly, so they're going to continue to work on that and see where they are, and I'll continue to update council as there are significant changes, not by day, and we'll start posting an update on our Facebook page tomorrow and our website, just so the public knows. So as of today, we still do not have even an estimated opening date for the pool, so that's where we stand with that. And that's it, Chairman.
Thank you very much. Next item. Moved by Councillor Hudson, seconded by Councillor Moffat. being a bylaw to enter into a model franchise agreement with Marathon Economic Development Corporation and the Corporation of the Township of Manitouwadge to be read a first and second time. And furthermore, be read a third time, passed and numbered as bylaw number 2019.
Through you, Your Worship. As you know, the municipality is working with 4 other municipalities along the North Shore to look at the opportunity to bring liquid natural gas to Manitouwadge. A part of that process is to make an application to the Ontario Energy Board, which will review the file, set the rate, make approvals. It also requires that Council approves the model franchise agreement as presented to you, which outlines who will operate as the distributor for natural gas. At this time, we have agreed that it would be the Township of Marathon through their Economic Development Corporation until there is an agreed upon distribution organization. And the 5 municipalities are looking at options at the right now. But in order to move the OEB application forward by the end of the month, we do require Council to review this document and make a recommendation.
Any questions? Seeing none. And furthermore, be read a third time, passed and numbered as bylaw number 2019-10. All in favor?
Thank you very much.
Moved by Councillor Campanella, seconded by Councillor Moffat, being a bylaw to authorize the execution of an agreement with Her Majesty the Queen in right of the Province of Ontario, as represented by the Minister of Transportation for the Province of Ontario Community Transportation Grant Program, be read a first and second time.
Through the Chair, this is the extension agreement we've been waiting quite some time for. It was announced in the previous government that we had been awarded the community transportation grant, that we had partnered with the hospital to purchase a new MyRide vehicle and to hire a staff member to manage that program. So we're, a year and a half away from when that announcement was made. So now we have the document in front of us, the agreement, so that once we sign it, we can then proceed with purchasing the vehicle.
Through the Chair, has a new vehicle been decided upon?
Yeah, through the Chair, they've already got all the homework done. We've got the job ad ready to go. We've got the job description ready to go. We've been waiting for this, like I say, since May of 2018, so long time.
Yeah.
We're going to meet now that we've got the agreement and just sort of hash out the job description a little better. I'll meet with the hospital staff, and then we'll be good to go. One thing that we did ask the ministry was, this was supposed to be a 5-year program, which they're stating that it still is, but our project was dependent upon purchasing a new vehicle and hiring a new staff member, and without the agreement, we couldn't spend the money. So we have, in essence, lost 1 year. And with the delays in getting the service agreement from the new Ford government, we lost even more time. So if we are successful enough to get a deputation with the Ministry of Transportation at AMO. I've also added this to the agenda because I had submitted the delegation request prior to us getting the agreement to say, we still want you to reconsider. We still have 5 years. Really, we don't, because we've lost the first half of it. We still get the full $500,000, but we're not going to be able to spend it. That's the problem. So we don't want to be in a position of having to give funding back unless we can be really creative and find another use for the funds. So we're going to make one more attempt to say, can you extend? Because we've sent multiple letters to them with no response to that question. So,
any further questions? Seeing none, and further be read a third time, passed and numbered as bylaw number 2019-11. All in favor? Move to new business. Moved by Councillor Roll, seconded by Councillor Moffat. Resolved that dates for the budget deliberation be established.
Through the chair, it's been a huge learning curve for both myself and Mr. Cranny to learn the ins and outs of 2 other departments that aren't uniquely ours. So we're at a place now where we believe we have a budget that Council will be fairly satisfied with. What we're proposing is July 15th. That would be an all-day meeting or until we're done. That's our normal practice here. We could start 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning, either break for lunch, depending on what Council's wishes are, or have lunch brought in and continue through the day. That is an open public meeting. So it will be advertised, it will be live streamed, and the public is welcome to attend that. We're also looking for a second date. Under our notice bylaw, we have to provide notice for the open house and the passing of the budget, which we are proposing a special meeting on July 29th. And that will be a 7 o'clock meeting. And again, I will do a presentation to the public who attend. And then you will pass all of the relevant bylaws for the budget.
The first date was the 15th, right?
Yeah.
Which is this coming Monday.
Correct.
I already have something booked.
Would I have quorum?
I'm available for Monday. I'm actually available until 1 p.m.
Okay. As long as I have quorum after that. If not, we can start earlier. If we need to break because I don't have quorum, then so be it. But we can at least get started. If we still have quorum, we can continue on.
I'm going to be here. That's 3.
3.
I can tentatively say yes. I'd have to talk to my employer about getting the day off.
Okay, so I will have quorum.
Yeah.
And I will still have quorum even if you leave. So the 15th, 29th in the evening.
I'm just arriving back to town that day. I'm hoping I get here for that.
Okay.
Is that the evening, you said?
That will be an evening meeting, yes.
I should be here for that.
I won't be here.
I'm available.
It's 7 p.m.?
We have to have, this one I have to know I have quorum because we have to give notice. And if I don't have quorum, then that delays us another 2 weeks because that's what our notice bylaw says. So if the 29th I absolutely don't have quorum, then I'd like to look at maybe the 30th.
30th, I'm good. 29th, I'm driving back from driving.
Wow, 30th I'm okay with.
Okay, so that gives me 1, 2, 3, you're working?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'll be
I'll
here.
be available the 30th,
So
yeah.
we'll change that to the 30th.
30th,
then.
okay.
30th?
Okay.
That would be 7 p.m.
Yes, sir.
And sorry, the one on the 15th is,
Does council have a preference for start time, 8:30, 9 o'clock?
On the 15th?
15th?
Yes,
9.
9. And it won't be in the resolution, but does council want to break for lunch or work through lunch as we may be losing Councillor Moffat? We can arrange for soup and sandwiches and work through lunch.
Should we take a half-hour break?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, so we can do that at the meeting. And should I bring lunch in? If you're only going to have an hour and you're not going to have any time
Yeah.
to go anywhere.
I think that would be ideal,
Okay,
yeah.
so we'll arrange for a small lunch, soup and sandwich maybe, and, all right.
And be it further resolved that the date for the 2019 budget deliberation be held on July 15, 2019 at 9 a.m. And be it further resolved that the date for a public meeting to be held July 30th, 2019 at 7 p.m. All in favor?
Thank you.
The next item is the Community of Interest meeting. Moved by Councillor Hudson, second by Councillor Rowland. Resolved that a date for the Community of Interest meeting with Barrick Gold be established.
Through the chair, for the new councillors, Barrick meets with us twice a year. Their management team comes in and does a presentation for us and gives us updates on their operations and what their goals and objectives are for the upcoming fiscal year, how things are going, good or bad. They've been pretty good with us. So they are looking for a date in July to come and do that presentation to council. It's always through the day. They generally start about 10 o'clock in the morning, but we leave that up to them depending on what their schedule is. And it's not a regular council meeting, so I don't need quorum for it. It's more of an information session where they're coming and present. But because it is our major employer, or one of them, we certainly like as many council members as are able to attend to be there. So I'm looking for a date, 1 or 2 dates, so that they have an option. I have no suggestions because it's your calendars.
22, 23, 24.
Oh, I'm out of town.
When are you away, Councillor Rolla? And again, we don't need quorum because it isn't a regular council meeting, but, you know, it would be nice if we had, you know, more than 1 or 2 if possible.
Yeah, I'm going all that week, 20th right through back on the 29th. So I won't be able to attend anything that week.
Okay.
About 18th.
I'm available for the first time, you said.
Oh, for 20.
Yeah, I don't need
18th,
everybody, right?
my schedule is going to change, so it's hard to say, right?
So what did you suggest, Councillor Martin?
If it wasn't for those 3 dates that I said earlier, I was thinking the 18th.
Okay.
That's a Thursday.
Does that work for you, Councillor Scapanello?
It's possible.
Okay.
I'm not 100% sure.
Well, I'm here every day, so it doesn't matter.
Okay. So I'll ask them for the 18th.
Okay.
If that doesn't work, then I'm just going to communicate with you via email. I won't wait for a council meeting for that. Like I say, it's not regular council business, so
They also said sometime between the 22nd, so
22, 23, 24.
if any of those fit better for them. Right?
Okay, I'll give them both options, but
Yeah.
the 18th is preferable?
Yeah.
Okay.
Busy.
Just change it to staff redirected to arrange a date. To get it president.
And be it further resolved that staff be directed to arrange a date. All in favor? Moved by Councilor Moffat, seconded by Councilor Scampanello. Resolved that Council is in receipt of a letter from the residents of the Lakeview Manor requesting the cleanup and removal of the wooded area on the property. Discussion.
Through the chair, as it states in their letter, there is dead trees and some shrubbery, and after all, the building is called Lakeview. So it would be nice if we could direct staff to do a report, see what's feasible labor-wise, financial-wise, to see if this can be done. The area beside it's been cleaned up for a project, and this has really sparked the residents to have the area behind them cleaned up, so just to make it a little nicer for them to live and a little more for their safety. I'm just wondering if anyone has any other thoughts on it.
Could you just clarify the area they're talking about? Is that basically from behind the building towards the lake right up to the propane tanks of the hospital?
Yes, because
That
that is
section?
municipal property. It's not municipal housing's property.
Right.
Yeah, that's the piece they're talking about.
Okay. I agree that we should look at it and see what needs to be done and what the costs would be.
Yeah, I'm all for it.
Yep. I'm for it. And be it further resolved that upon Council's review and consideration, direct staff as follows: to prepare a report to
Report on costing and staff availability
On costing.
to complete the tasks in any areas of concern.
all in favor. Moved by Councilor Hudson, seconded by Councilor Moffat. Whereas Section 239 of the Municipal Act 2001, SO 2001 C25, provides that before holding a meeting or part of a meeting that is to be closed to the public, the municipality or local board or committee of either of them shall state by resolution the fact of holding a proposed committee meeting and the general nature of the matter to be considered at the closed meeting. Now therefore be it resolved that this meeting is hereby closed to the public as the subject matter being discussed falls under the following sections. 1. Section 239 2E, litigation or potential litigation including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or local board. Divisional court update. Number 2, Section 239 2B, personal matters about an identifiable individual including municipal or local board employees. Council staff relations update from the mayor. All in favor?
done, but
Moved by Councillor Scapanello, seconded by Councillor Arola. Resolved that the meeting is hereby declared to be open to the public at 8:38. All in favor? Moved by Councillor Arola, seconded by Councillor Moffat. Resolved that the regular meeting adjourn at the hour of 8:39. All in favor?